All right, welcome back. We are here at the end of Season 8 RTA, and this would normally be where I would do my push to Guardian, but this will be the first season out of 8 that I will not be getting Guardian in RTA. So it's kind of different. So instead, we're going to look at kind of how the season went, why I don't think I have the ability to get Guardian this season, and we're going to look at a couple examples of where my team kind of falls short. So it's sort of like the anti-push to Guardian, or the push to C3, I guess. So first of all, let's take a look at the overall stats. Victory rate way off of last season, and I think that's the main thing to keep an eye on. I'm at 54.6, which is basically 50-50. I played many more matches than normal because I was kind of struggling to find my comp exactly, and I kind of got close near the end of the season, but I don't feel super confident with it. I'm still kind of looking for my comp. I had a lot of fun trying to find a comp. I played way more than I normally do. The most I've played since season 1. My best score down there is season 1, because I couldn't quite get a feel for what I wanted. So I was trying a lot of different things. I was moving runes around, trying different configurations. I'm gonna finish right around 1.6%. It may drop down to 2%. I don't know, but I feel pretty confident that I'm safe since the top 2,500 make Guardian, and the top 3% makes C3. So that's what I'm looking at, 1918. My high watermark in terms of points, I think I was at like 1932, like something like that. So not even close to Guardian. The Guardian cutoff right now is like 1980 or 1990, something quite high. I don't think I've ever been that high in any season. And this season's a little bit different. So what happened, right? So in my opinion, there's a couple things that hurt me this season. May have hurt others, may have helped others, I don't know. The first main thing that I think is mainly responsible for my win rate drop is the Molong and Ganny buff. Or buff. Molong and Ganny nerf. They were my bread and butter. So we'll go ahead and look at them. Let's see. Here's my Ganny. I still kind of use them, but they're just not quite as good. So they were my bread and butter for a long, long time. Every season. Like, I had it really, really good for several seasons. As soon as I pulled Ganny, my win rate went up, and that was pre-nerf. He could ventilate himself. That was some crazy times. And then I pulled Molong like a month or so later, and then I was great because I had what, in my opinion, were the two of the 3 premier stripper units in RTA. The third being Bestet? No, Hathor. So I had 2 of the 3 premier buff removing units, so I didn't have to worry about buff removal at all. I would just bring Molong Ganny as much as possible. They would remove buffs at a good enough clip that it wasn't an issue for me, and then they did so many other fantastic things. But their win rate was, I guess, too high because Molong was a ubiquitous choice, and I think Ganny was, and probably still is, chosen very often, and so they got nerfed. And so then I was out of buff removal now. I had to figure something out. So this season, my main buff removers were Josephine, because she strips on her second skill, and it's 100%. On a 3-turn cooldown, and it gets two chances at 100%. So that's pretty good. It's pretty consistent, even with my lower-ish accuracy. And then I use the Aegir that everyone's using, which I was pretty happy with Aegir. I think though the issue was Aegir and Josephine are not at the top of the food chain for buff removal this season or anymore. I think those 2 units are probably Hathor and Diana. And then, if you go even higher, you get into some really crazy ones like Yon Hong and stuff like that. So I feel like I went from S tier buff removal to like B tier buff removal. Like, had I had like a Hathor or a Diana, I think I would have been a little bit better off in terms of buff removal. And so that was a bit of a problem for me. The other thing is I went from a sort of a 1 kill, like a kill unit comp, to a mid-range comp. Like my comp used to be Molong Perna with Vanessa as well. And so Vanessa would go into Perna, and that would usually, get a kill if I had a buff removal. So I'd do Ganny buff removal, defense break, kill. Or if they banned Perna, I'd have Molong, and, I could probably get a kill pretty quickly with that all. So Molong was just ridiculous. So I used to be a kill unit, go 3-on-4 as soon as possible, which I think is still one of the strongest things you can use in RTA. Barian, for example, uses it very effectively with a couple of units I don't have. A lot of people do a really good job with that. And I moved into more of a mid-range comp, which has its pros and cons. My comps, and I'll show you some more. I would get my damage from other sources. So you'll see my Josephine's on crit damage, a little bit of a bruiser. I got some damage from Triana. She's at 71% crit rate. So she's just picking up some crit there. So I would do everybody kind of contributes, and your goal is to kind of hang around and stabilize, and just live for a while. And, the longer you live, the better chance you have for your runes to sort of outshine your opponent. And the problem with mid-range, in my opinion, is sort of what Syntac found when he was playing mid-range. He would play Anavel, kind of Anavel mid-range, and it can be fun, but it's also sort of frustrating because it's vulnerable to the kind of comp I used to play, the kill a unit, go 3-on-4. Pretty vulnerable to that. And the problem with that sort of comp is it can go to second turn and still take out one of your units, and it can also be less well runed than you and still take out one of your units, which is crazy. So the two matches I think are worth looking at are a couple of losses early. This is a good one. So one of the things that hurts you in mid-range comp is you're pretty good against mid-range comp, but you can also get killed by mid-range comps. So this is kind of me versus a mid-range with a little bit more of a damage tilt. Normally, if someone plays a Perna, you try to exploit that and kill it. And so my solution for that is Aegir to try to kill the Perna, but it's not quite enough damage to get the Perna down, and we'll see that here. The Fran Vert is pretty nice. When it works really well. So you can see I've kind of getting things where I want it to be, but then I'm opening myself up, and then bam, here comes the massive Perna damage. One proc, and I'm on my heels. I've used up my death prevention. I'm still kind of stabilizing, but the Fran's doing work. And then once they come back around again, I don't have the mitigation to deal with the Perna, basically. And that's where the match goes. So I got 3-on-4 by the Perna, basically, and his turn cycling. I may have made a little mistake there in not getting myself another way to deal with that Jean. A Jean that you don't deal with is really, really powerful. Just as powerful as last season. There's nothing changed about Jean. She's still really good. So if you can figure out a way to get her in, get her in. I used my Jean quite a bit and very effectively. Okay, the other type of loss I had was this one. I think this is my last game of the season. Yeah, so this is me basically getting cleaved, which is sad. I didn't used to get cleaved very often, but my mid-range comp has some slight speed issues, which is a problem. So my Fran and Amelia are my anti-cleave units because they're fast. I think I just screwed up the ban here. Yeah, because I banned the speed lead. I'm like, okay, I'll go first. And I believe I do go first. Yeah, so I go first. But I think the issue here is the Rocky is going to 3v4 me, and then that other boomerang that removes buffs is still really good. So look, I go first. I get a couple things done that I want to do. I'm fully immune. But man, big damage, and then watch this. Bam. Goodbye. Gone. And that was the problem. Like, I let the Cleave had more options to deal with me than I had to deal with him. He shut down my DPS, and now I'm completely on the back feet. I have no form of buff removal, which I didn't anyway, which is sort of a problem. And yeah, he's just gonna finish me off. And so I would find these matches where my mid range didn't quite work, or I would make a mental error in the pick, or some the ban maybe. And this one was the ban. And yeah, it left me more areas to kind of mess up. And you'll notice from these units, we'll go look at some of my other units. I would use quite a range of units, and I think that hurt me as well. The need to rune up so many more units this season spread my runes out pretty thin. I was happy with my Verd, but I didn't quite get comfortable picking him. I used him quite a bit, but like I would bring him into bad situations, or I'd use him incorrectly, or I didn't protect him sometimes, so I just kind of fiddled around too much with him. So yeah, I think that was another thing that hurt me. Also, I don't know if the ranking system was an issue this season. It may have been. You definitely had to play more matches, and I played as many as I feel like I possibly could have, but I could not have played, another 100, 200 matches. Just I don't have the time for it. It's just not possible with a full-time job. So I think the ranking system probably hurt me a little bit because my mid-range comp was pretty good against Guardian 2 players. Like I had a pretty good win rate, but it wasn't good enough against players with runes that would have been like C2, C3 last season. Like I felt like I was losing more to them. And the way the points were going, it wasn't working out. Like once I hit 1900, it was like win against a G2, get like 7 points, lose against a C3, lose 11 points. And that would happen. It'd go like G1 win, G1 win, C3 loss, and I'd net lower. Whereas in past seasons, those 2 wins against people significantly higher than me would have. I feel like more canceled that. I may be wrong with that, but that's kind of how it felt. So I felt that kind of worked against me. It was a fun season. It was very competitive. I liked the breadth of comps. I was constantly on my toes in the pick ban. I didn't feel comfortable with a specific comp. I was trying to kind of react and find different combinations and stuff like that. So I don't know. It was interesting. The Ratesh skin would have been nice to get, but I don't really use my Ratesh. So here's him. Like, he's not skilled up, so I don't feel terrible about not getting the skin. But of course, I would have liked to have gotten it if I could have. It's gonna make me kind of reevaluate what I want to do for next season. Am I going to sort of settle into C3? I might, or am I going to find a comp that's very consistent, or am I going to try to YOLO a little bit more to rush some wings to try to do more wings? I don't know. So that's kind of my. Well, I guess I could show. Let's see. Do I have an actual win we can look at? You can kind of see how it functions. Let's look at one of those too. Just before they're all gone, because I guess the replays are not going to stick around. All right, so here's a win. So this is my little mid-range comp, getting work done. I really, as the season went on, I liked Jean more and more. I didn't use my Molong very much, and I feel like maybe I should have, because I don't know, he still has a lot going for him. I just didn't quite have the buff removal to support him, I felt. So here I removed the 1 immunity, and I'm just going to deal with the other. I don't really mind those Archangels as much. The Wusas, it's just that shield adds up, just a problem. And you just go after Verds. If you have a Verd, you know they're going after a Verd, and if you are fighting a Verd, you know you're going after the Verd. Just go after the Verd, right? And so then we 3-on-4'd it, right? We did what the other guy just did to me. Almost literally unit for unit. It's almost the same. So you would think I would jump on this more before it could happen to me. I would get it done quicker, but just, I don't know. It's hard to get it right every time. So we just continue in this manner and just knock it out here. When the Aegir works, man, he works great. So that's that match there. And I think we can go ahead and call it a day there. So I hope this was interesting to you guys. I don't know. It wasn't quite the same, like, climb to Guardian, like, knocking out wins, like, left and right. Sort of fell off towards the end there and got to the point where I was like, it's so hard to climb. I'm scraping into wing after wing after wing just to go up a point or two here or there. Like, the last week I sort of did a couple of matches and I said, that's okay with me. This season we'll just let it go. And maybe come back next season. Maybe not. People are getting better all the time. There's, rune packs and reaps, and people are pulling ragdolls and all sorts of stuff. So it's maybe just a C3 these days. I don't know. But we're going to take another crack at it next season and see how it goes. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch y'all in the next video. See if I can actually... There we go. Go ahead and stop it right here. So take care, everybody. Peace.